Most people think that they know when they're being gaslighted, but reality is different. Survey results show that about 32% of men and 46% of women in the US have experienced it at some point in their lives. And yet, 3 out of 4 adults don't even know what gaslighting really means. In relationships, it shows up in ways you might recognize. You're always apologizing. It somehow always ends up being your fault. You start convincing yourself that emotional abuse isn't that bad. Tell yourself if you just looked at it differently, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much. But here's the truth. It does. Gaslighting doesn't just change how you see your partner, it changes how you see yourself. It makes you question your own memory, your instincts, even your grip on reality. I'm Jourdan Travers, a licensed psychotherapist, and today I'll show you exactly how to spot gaslighting, how to call it out, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from its grip. Gaslighting isn't just a modern buzzword. The term actually comes from a 1938 play called Gaslight, where a husband secretly dims the gas lamps in his home, then insists to his wife that nothing has changed. Over time, she begins to believe that she's losing her mind. His goal? To have her institutionalized so he can control her fortune. What began as fiction became a real term in psychology and medicine. The first clinical papers appeared in the late 1960s, describing cases where people were deliberately manipulated into questioning their sanity. But gaslighting didn't just stay confined to hospitals or psychiatric units. It spread into how we talk about relationships, power, and control. Fast forward to today. A 2025 review published in the Journal of Family Violence pulled research from psychology, sociology, medicine, and even philosophy. What it found was sobering. Gaslighting is not just an argument tactic. It's a systematic form of coercive control. Perpetrators intentionally distort reality to keep their partners off balance. In one national survey of nearly 2,900 survivors of intimate partner violence, 85% said they'd been called crazy by their partner. Nearly 3/4 reported that their partner deliberately did things to them that made them feel like they were losing their mind. Researchers stress that gaslighting works because it's subtle and insidious. It doesn't show up all at once. It comes in patterns: denial, minimization, twisting facts, alternating cruelty with moments of affection. This inconsistency keeps the victim hoping for clarity while slowly eroding their trust in themselves. The conclusion from this body of research is clear. Gaslighting isn't random. It's deliberate, it's manipulative, and it changes the way victims see themselves, often leaving lasting scars of self-doubt, anxiety, and depression. And here's where research gets fascinating. In 2024, a team of psychologists from Italy studied 177 young adults between the ages of 19 and 26. None of them were paid to participate. They volunteered to share their experiences of gaslighting in relationships. The researchers wanted to answer one question: what kind of personality traits show up most in people who gaslight their partners? To find out, they measured gaslighting behaviors in 3 categories: what they called the glamour gaslighter, the good guy gaslighter, and the intimidator. The glamour gaslighter uses charm and flattery to keep in control, but underneath that is irresponsibility and a fear of true intimacy. The good guy gaslighter hides manipulation behind care and sympathy, often using subtle tactics that leave their partner doubting themselves. This style was strongly tied to manipulativeness and avoidance of real closeness. The intimidator gaslighter is the most overt, critical, harsh, unpredictable, and openly controlling. This type was linked to destructibility and insecurity about being abandoned. Gaslighting isn't random. It's not just someone having a bad day. It often grows out of deep personality traits like irresponsibility, manipulativeness, or separation insecurity that makes a person more likely to control and distort their partner's reality. And that matters because if you've ever wondered why gaslighting feels so calculated, it's because in many ways it is. It reflects patterns wired into the gaslighter's personality, not just isolated arguments. Which begs the question, how do you actually recognize when this is happening? And more importantly, how do you protect yourself against such an insidious form of psychological abuse? But before we move forward, if you've been questioning whether what you're going through is really gaslighting, I've added a free test on our website based on the relationship control scale. It only takes a few minutes, and it can give you real insight into whether unhealthy control and manipulation are showing up in your relationship. Now, let's slow down and really unpack these strategies, because knowing what to do and actually applying it in real time are two very different things. When you're caught in gaslighting, you're already on edge, confused, anxious, second-guessing yourself. That's why handling it like a pro isn't about having the perfect comeback. It's about grounding yourself and reclaiming trust in your own perception. The first, denying conversations or events. Think of this. You bring up a conversation that happened earlier in the day, but your partner looks at you straight in the eye and says it never happened. You know you remember it, but suddenly you're second-guessing yourself. That's gaslighting. The way to handle it isn't to argue endlessly. Stay calm and simply say, that's not how I remember it. You don't have to prove your memory. You only have to trust it. Number 2, being told that you're crazy or losing it. Maybe every time you question their behavior, their reply is, you're imagining things, or you're losing your mind. Over time, you begin doubting your own judgment about even big events. The antidote is grounding yourself. Remind yourself that feeling confused doesn't mean I'm wrong. It means I'm being manipulated. If you can, jot things down. Keeping a journal or saving texts can anchor you back in reality when self-doubt creeps in. Number 3, having your feelings minimized or mocked. You tell them something hurt you and they laugh it off with, you're too sensitive, or you always blow things out of proportion. This is another classic move. It chips away at your right to feel what you feel. The healthy response is to stand in your truth. These are my feelings and they matter. You don't need anyone's permission to have emotions, and setting that boundary protects you. Number 4, being unfairly blamed. In some cases, everything somehow becomes your fault. If they cheat, it's because you were too busy. If the microwave breaks, you must have done something wrong. When blame shifting is constant, the most effective response is to redirect responsibility. Say, that was your choice, not mine. Don't get drawn into apologizing for things that you didn't do. Number 5, getting trapped in circular arguments. Gaslighters thrive on looping conversations that go nowhere. You keep explaining, they keep twisting, and hours later, you're exhausted and more confused than when you started. The key here is to disengage. Recognize the circle and step out of it. A simple, this isn't going anywhere and I'm not continuing this conversation, breaks the cycle and protects your energy. And number 6, when it never stops. For some people, gaslighting isn't an occasional tactic. It's the air that they breathe in every relationship. Every day feels like a battle to prove reality. At that point, the healthiest step is often distance. Walking away isn't failure. It's reclaiming your self-respect. Gaslighting is abuse, and no one should have to defend their sanity on a daily basis. If you've been feeling isolated from friends or family, having a third perspective can make a huge difference. And if you've already taken those steps toward healing, the right guidance can make all the difference. I'm Jourdan Travers. I'm the clinical director at Awake Therapy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.